go live. Ready to go live, guys?
Yes.
Hold on. Jason's
Okay.
there we go.
We're live.
Great. Your meeting, okay, meeting is now live streaming on Facebook. We are here.
We did
Hi,
it!
everybody.
Yay!
We got here. So I'm Sue Adler, and I am so proud today to be here with my my CEO, COO, Scott Schumann, and my right hand in my business, and Sarah Reynolds, a very close friend, rock star. She's my mentor, and her right hand, Jen Wade, and they're from Virginia. And of course, we have Christy Belt Grossman moderating, the Ops Boss Coach, the perfect person for moderating this. And let's go. Christy, take it from here.
Let's do this. I am so excited. I am so excited that you guys included operations in your powerful 5 dolls week. Like, this is so awesome. So I'm Christy Belt Grossman. I'm the CEO of Ops Boss Coaching. I was the COO of one of the top real estate teams in the country, one of the first teams to do $1 billion in sales for 23 years. And my passion is the wizards behind the screen. So today, we're going to talk with some powerful partnerships and pull back the curtain on this, as Sarah called it, this magical relationship. I think a lot of people think it's a mysterious relationship because they have a lot of challenges there. And I want to be really clear with those of you who are joining us, this is not your typical agent assistant panel. This is C-suite leadership at the highest level. Those of you, Sarah, I watched your leadership meeting the other day. Amazing. I got so many nuggets out of it. So we're going to hope to give you a bunch of golden nuggets today. And I'm going to ask you, if you're watching us on Facebook live, to go ahead and comment in the comments and tell us, are you an agent or are you an ops boss? So just we have a little bit of a general idea of who is watching us. So I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourselves. Sarah, you want to start us off, and then we'll go to Jen and then over to New Jersey.
Sure. So hi everyone, I'm Sarah Reynolds. Oh, we have an echo. Is that just on my end?
I think it's stopped now.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool. So I'm Sarah Reynolds. I lead the Reynolds Team Network. So we are out of the Washington, D.C. metro market. Our first main market is Northern Virginia, right outside of DC. DC is actually a very small city. A lot of people don't know that, but both population and how big it is actually semi-small. So we service the suburbs of Washington, DC. We expanded about 5 years ago to DC as well as to Maryland suburbs. So now we service the entire DC metro market. We also expanded to Richmond, Virginia, which is the capital of Virginia. And this year we expanded to Atlanta, Georgia. So last year our team did right over 10 million in gross commission income. And this year, right now, we're on pace to do between 14 to 15 million in gross commission income for this year. So,
I love that. And how many families will that be that you'll help this year?
1,250.
Love it.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Jen, you want to introduce yourself? Tell us also, the ops people, when you introduce yourself, what your role is and kind of like what's your 20%, because it's different on every team.
Yeah, definitely. I'm Jen Wade. I am the COO of the Reynolds team. And I would say my 20% is, it's definitely a mix between operations and the agent side. So I do a lot of, my most important role is accountability in the system. And I'm holding agents accountable. I'm holding our success team accountable, pretty much everybody, occasionally the ISAs as well. So it's, yeah, that's really my 20%. And then, of course, you know, just making sure everything is operating smoothly. We're, you know, serving our clients at a high level.
Awesome. And I want to, for those of you who are listening that don't know Sarah, Sarah also has her own EA, which is different from the COO. So I just want to clarify that. So Sue, tell us about you and your team.
So we serve the New Jersey suburbs that go into New York, so the train line towns that go into Manhattan. And, you know, we have about, I don't know how many people now, 28 people or so, Scott? Is that about right?
No, about 30.
about 30 people. And we did about 200 million last year. This year we started off really strong, and then the pandemic hit, and now we are back on track again. So I feel really good about that. So just a little slip up, but we're good. And you know, my role is, so I'm CEO. I'm still in listing production. So right now my focus has just been on ramping up the lead gen. And just that's been my whole hype. I'm hyper focused on that right now, because I don't like I look at our numbers compared to last year and I get panic attacks when I see how behind we are. So I just have to, I'm working till 2 o'clock in the morning, basically. So, but that's
I know the feeling.
yeah. So, and Scott basically does everything else.
Scott,
That's my intro. I do everything else.
introduce yourself, Scott.
So I'm Scott Schumann, CEO of the Sue Adler team. So Sue talked a little bit about the team. But yeah, so my 20% is operations of the team, recruiting and training of agents and staff, and then expansion and growth of the team into new opportunities and new agents and new market share. And I'm also in production as well. It's just something that I enjoy.
Awesome. So I want to talk a little bit in general about the relationship, because this is a really unique relationship. I think a lot of people have not found their secret sauce to yet. And then we'll dive into, okay, and what does it look like now in this shift? So you guys have been together how long, Scott and Sue? 11 years?
11 years.
And what about you guys, Sarah and Jen?
This year's 5.
Which is really, really long in our world. So those of you who are listening, I see we have about 100 people listening. So I want you guys to comment in the comments and give me, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is our relationship as ops boss, CEO, COO, DOO, whatever you are, like we're killing it. It can't get any better. It's a 10. 1 is like, I'm gonna walk out of the room and fire my EA tomorrow. Like, give me a 1 to 10 rating so we kind of know, like, what does your relationship look like? And then I'm going to ask these guys what their relationships are like. So if I were to ask you all, what are 2 words that characterize your relationship, and how can someone listening improve their relationship with the person who's their partner in business? What would you say? Who wants to take that question first?
I'll take it.
Go, Scott.
So I would say that, well, my high D wants to name 5. Okay, so if I had to pick 2, I think I could sum it up as care and candor. So I think that my job and our relationship is not only to support all the ideas that both of us have, but traditionally, I think I hear a lot of EAs are like, my rainmaker comes back from family reunion or probably this webinar, and they're like, we got to do blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, what are you doing? And I think that, so one of the things is to support all those ideas and to foster them and see them through and explore them and see what works and what doesn't. But I think the other part is I feel like I have an obligation to the company and to Sue to sort of play devil's advocate and see the other side. And I expect that from Sue too. I mean, none of us are perfect. And I think both, honestly, I think both of us sometimes get like our feelings hurt a little bit, where we feel like we have this amazing idea and the other person's like, I don't know if that's great, or I don't know if that's crazy. But I think that that's a positive thing for our relationship and for the business, because it ultimately helps us grow faster and vet ideas and kind of stay along our mission and accomplish our goals.
So at what point in your relationship, Scott, did you actually, like, was that from day one, or did you have to earn the right to play devil's advocate?
So Sue and I have a really weird relationship because I started as her intern. So I literally have done everything from sitting on an upside down 5-gallon paint bucket all the way up to what I'm doing now. So
I candor when he was the intern.
I guess so. I don't know. I really don't know. I do remember vividly. We used to coach with a gentleman, Bob Corcoran, who a lot of you know. And I remember I was on a call with Bob one day, and he said, you know, you work well with Sue, and you work well with other people like Sue because you're not afraid to tell them how it is or what your thoughts are. And I never really thought about it until that point. So I guess at that point I kind of like identified that I guess I'm not afraid to share my thoughts and my feelings on an idea or a topic, or come up with something and present them. And I have a lot of confidence in what I do and my ideas that I have. But I don't know when that actually formed in our relationship. Sue says from day one.
So at what point, as the owner of the business, did you feel like you had to really pay attention to what Scott had to say?
Well, I mean, first of all, he wasn't, his role changed to, after college, he became director of operations. And even at that time, he basically just kept taking over different roles, and he would just, I didn't even know how it happened, but he sort of inserted himself. You know, that's what happens. That's what talent just does. They just insert themselves and all of a sudden they're there. So it's not like it was anything intentional that happened along the way. I think what happens in a relationship is, I mean, I know I can think of certain specific times where early on I felt like and this is before I felt like he had the right. I remember feeling like a little taken back, but then I had to get over myself for that, because that's the one thing as a leader. Like when something is changed, your first response might be, mine was, oh, wait a minute, this, you know, it was sort of like, this is my team and who is this person coming? And I wasn't used to sharing the leadership role at that time. This was, you know, when he first came into the director of ops role, but then I really welcomed it because it freed me up. So, you know, that's the whole thing. It's like we have to get out of our own way, and it frees you up to be in your 20%, because I love being a rainmaker. I'm good at it. I'm creative. I just love it. I mean, that's what I like to do. And he can handle everything else. Awesome. That's great. I don't really love running a team. It's not, you know, I don't have patience for that. Scott is so good and so positive and has so much, he's all positivity. And so the balance, the red light, green light with us is really good with that, because he's typically, let's go with something. But then I have to just break it up and look at it and really understand it. And, you know, so that's, but then if there's an idea with lead gen, all of a sudden I take it and then I implement, like with the selling workshop, I just decide, okay, this is it, we're doing it, this and that. And then he sort of, I remember like when I run with something, sometimes he's like, well, wait a minute, we didn't even discuss this, but in my mind, it's already done. So like we have to just catch ourselves and make sure everybody's on board with however either of us are feeling with things.
I think one of the things I've noticed after talking with you guys, and Sarah and Jen, you're probably the same way, but in the typical operations owner relationship, it's checks and balances, with owner being one and ops being the other. At the higher levels, it's checks and balances two ways, because there's two sets of ideas, two sets of balances. And I think that's why you're moving at a faster speed than at lower levels, so to speak. Sarah and Jen, what would you say are maybe two words that you would characterize communication on your team with, or with each other, really?
Thank you, Scott and Sue, because that gave me lots of time to think and listen. I learned a lot too. I don't know. I would love to hear what Jen has to say, but number one is trust, the word trust. I think me and Jen have this like unbelievable trust for one another, and it has caused us to really be a powerhouse, because we both have to make decisions during the day, and at night sometimes we're texting each other, letting each other know sort of what those decisions were. Sometimes we don't at all. We have an unbelievable trust for one another. And I think it comes down to, you know, we both have such a heart for serving our team, and I know that the decision that she's going to make during the day, and when she's caught with things throughout the day, lots of things throughout the day, is going to be in the team's best interest. And so that then gives me freedom to focus on what I need to focus on, because I ultimately have such great trust for her. And I think I would hope she would say the same thing, right? I mean, our relationship, the foundation is trust both ways. And then the other one is like rapid or fast. I think like so many times people wait for like the one-on-ones or the meetings to communicate, and we communicate like all the time. So, we make really fast decisions. We make really fast changes when we see something's not going right. She sits in an office when we're physically together, literally right beside me with a glass door in between. And we are talking all day, you know.
Are you talking all night, or are you talking all weekend? That's always a question that I get.
No, well, some weekends.
Sometimes.
But those are few and far between. I think, you know, we both work really, really, really hard Monday through Friday. And we do our best to make our family a priority on the weekends. And so we try not to bother each other. But at times, like if there's, you know, if something was discovered Friday at 4:00, obviously we're going to talk about that over the weekend.
Right. So let's talk about accountability. I get the question a lot. And especially as we're pivoting during this shift, like what has your is it a one-way accountability, a two-way accountability, formal, informal? How are you driving results? What does that look like? And has anything changed during the shift? And I don't know who wants to take that. Scott?
Yeah, I can take it. So I think it's two-way accountability in our relationship. I think definitely, you know, Sue and I have projects we want to get done, and there's parts Sue has to get done, there's parts I have to get done, and we go back and forth. And you know, one of the things I think was really good for our relationship, and we actually kind of we didn't intentionally, but we moved another meeting around, and our meeting got kind of messed up because of it, and we felt it pretty quickly in our communication patterns. We do a Wednesday morning meeting, and it used to be in person when that was acceptable and cool in the world. And we decided we do it at 8 a.m. on Wednesdays because we knew that from like 8 to 10, that was kind of our quiet. It was before the phone started ringing. It was before all the attorneys started getting involved. It was kind of before the world woke up. And that was really a great 2-hour block where we could really work on bigger projects and talk about metrics and kind of have a standing meeting. And I'm not sure why, but we moved our leadership meeting. We learned from Sarah and company about their leadership meeting. And so we had a leadership meeting that was directly after that. For some reason, we decided to move it before that. One of the people in the leadership, a couple people in the leadership meeting have kids, and it was mid homeschooling. So, okay, let's do it really early. And then, but then what ended up happening is our meeting got kind of pushed by the wayside. And then all of a sudden we kind of felt this rut where I didn't know where Sue was at with projects. She didn't know where I was at with projects. Yeah. And it kind of created this rub in communication. In terms of it, there was just a lot of, I like efficiency. So I hate like having to repeat and rediscover and chase people for information. I'd rather just know like, okay, today's the day where we report on X, and we decided we're going to do steps 1, 2, and 3. Did we do that? Yes. Great. Check it off. And then steps 4, 5, 6 are for next week. Right. So that was really, I think, anyways, the meetings are really pivotal in our relationship that way.
Do you have like a set agenda? Who drives the meeting, you or Sue or both of you? Or do you know ahead of time what you're going to talk about? Sarah, I know you guys do EOS for your leadership meetings.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So we follow EOS for our leadership meetings too. I think that our Sue Scott meetings are honestly more informal. We definitely have things that we talk about, like, you know, under contracts and cash flow and expenses and lead flow. And we kind of have our buckets, and then we have our bigger projects that we've worked on. But to say that there's like a written agenda or something, that would be, that just wouldn't be.
Yeah, a lot of, I mean, I would say a lot of the financial stuff, especially because those are things you want to talk about and you don't want to send emails back and forth. So, and especially now with the shift, there were certain metrics that Scott had either in his head or on his computer, and he's talking about things. I'm like, well, and I was feeling uneasy because I didn't even know what he was talking about because I need the visual, and he thought that he shared it with me. So things like that so the communication is just really important. We all have to be on the same page now, making these decisions. When you're looking at your cash flow and you're going through this, like, do we bring on this expansion team? Do we do certain things? Do we start sending out mailings again when we cut back? So it's like this whole red light, green light thing. So you have to really be on top of your finances now more than ever.
How often were you looking at your finances before, and how often are you looking at them now? And how often are you looking at them as a team versus just the owner looking at them, maybe? Anybody can take the question.
So we do a monthly finance meeting that's crucial, that Jen actually takes mainly the lead on. Now we have a finance manager that she oversees. But before she took the lead on the meeting, and she still does technically because she oversees her. But so that's once a month where we do a review of the P&L together. We also review bank statements and our American Express because that's where we spend the most money. So now we're looking at it weekly. When it all first started, it was was it 3 times a week, Jen? We were updating on cash flow.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then now
updated almost daily.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then now it's every Friday. We do an update. A finance update is sent to me.
That's awesome. I love that. So you talked about speed, Sarah, earlier. And I'm curious, has there been any changes in pace, in speed between the two of you or with your team during this shifting market? And what does that look like? Who takes the lead? What has changed, if anything?
I think we've gotten faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have gotten faster.
I mean, when the teams that I coach, I'm seeing so much more urgency, and people's level of seriousness has really risen up. And I'm wondering if you've seen that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think we could get faster. And so, but I think both Jen and I are working together. Faster, I would say. We have been slower to hire. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Jen?
No, I do. I agree. It's been faster. We're just constantly looking at things very closely and making changes quickly if we see something in every aspect of the business.
So we've been watching all leading indicators closely. I actually saw Scott posted this morning. I was like, yes, that's what we were talking about yesterday, is our showing numbers on our listings are back up to pre-COVID numbers. It's so exciting.
Everybody but the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah. And so we've been looking at leading indicators as a leadership team. And then Jen and I, a lot of to sort of answer your question from before, our meetings, it's definitely two-way accountability, but honestly, it's problem solving. We get together and we hammer out like, okay, this is happening. What do we do? And our brains together are magic.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I said, like, it's just a powerhouse of like such results oriented plus the detail. And when we get together, it's like, we just come up with some amazing things.
Yeah, I think you're so right. I mean, it's not really, the word accountability, it is more problem solving. So, how do we get through this? What should we do? It's all, exactly.
Exactly. Yep. It's working together, and that's what has turned into the nice thing when you follow, and not to give a plug for my Monday meeting, but when you follow the level 10 leadership meeting, the beauty of it is that everyone's accountable to each other because every person brings their numbers. Okay. So if someone's department is slacking, it's going to show up when they present their numbers. And so the nice thing about that is that it has now allowed our one-on-one time to be more efficient because we already went over numbers in leadership meeting and we've already tackled those as an executive leadership team. Now let's focus on maybe the problems that are rising in the business that we can focus on together, me and her. And I think that's really powerful.
So what I'm hearing you say is almost there's a horizontal accountability versus a top-down accountability where the team holds each other accountable so that you can use your skills where they're best met, solving bigger problems than accountability.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
How are you guys, so we had to make a lot of changes over the last 2 months. At Sue Adler team, you guys are crushing it with all your virtual open houses. Just like every time I look, you're doing something new. How is innovation driven through the partnership of CEO, COO? What does that look like on your team? Like, how does that happen? Is it purposeful? Is it organic?
I mean, I would say, like, I know, I think I probably, to some extent, work individually that way, and Scott does it too. We kind of do, I don't know, we work individually and together that way. Like, I would take 3 hours on the weekend and just put myself in front of the camera and just shoot videos for the next few weeks. You know, came up with the virtual home showing process, and I just stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning writing that out one night. The virtual open houses I got from all you guys, and we both did. And now the whole Peloton thing, we were like you could do the on-demand ride. So now so I don't remember who came up with it or what, but we both.
Jen Wade came up with it.
Yeah, so we're doing on-demand rides now, open houses. And we're now doing brokers open houses virtually, which we can then use even because we're finding now, it's interesting, is on the weekends, we're not getting the same kind of turnout. So we're actually now thinking of doing it during the weekend, and they can on demand them on the weekend or something. Because now, you know, as you've been doing this for a few weeks or a month, you start to really analyze, and it's like, well, is this working as good as it should? So that's kind of where we are right now, and we're revisiting certain things that we're doing and saying, okay, well, maybe we do these during the week as a broker's open, and then have it on demand for the weekend, and then people could look whenever and register to look whenever. So we're just shifting things up. We shifted our workshops to be all virtual. Scott's been working with the buyer specialists on doing buyer workshops now. And I don't know, we've been doing so much.
In terms of then CEO, what I'm hearing is sort of almost like a rocket fuel synergy of idea person, other person executing. So question for Jen and Scott is, okay, I know Sarah and Sue have ideas out the yin yang that they could go forever and never run out of ideas. How do you guys get it all done in this environment where we have extra stress upon us? People are working from home, managing kids and schooling and all of that. And we want to increase our pace because we're feeling a lot of urgency during this shift. How do you guys do it? What's the secret?
With me,
he has ideas too, by the way. I didn't mean to sound
No,
like
I know that. I know that.
Okay.
So when we're going through, I mean, it's not just me, it's so many people are involved with all of our, you know, implementing the ideas and working through the processes, but it's really prioritizing. Like every day I have to prioritize like what is like the most crucial thing I get done and then go from there. But it's really it's a team effort.
How do you do that, Jen? Because you are remarkable at knowing what the priorities should be. And I don't think that's talked about a lot. So how do you determine what the priorities should be?
It really goes, I follow what we follow in our leadership meetings. So leads and conversion, I go in that level. So if I have something on my list that I need to get done, leads and conversion, if it has anything to do with that, that's top of my list. And then it just goes down. If it's operational, it goes a little further down. It just depends, but it's really, I follow what we follow in our leadership meetings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that's so important. What you're saying is you're following the vision cast by the visionary of your team as to what the priorities are. And I think that's where a lot of ops people struggle because the vision is not crystal clear. So therefore it's hard to prioritize.
Yes,
I think
it would be actually put that on paper. What was the most crucial things? I thought that was huge for us.
It was, and we came up with that together. And for those that haven't seen it, I want to share, because I think that this is really critical, because I think on the ops side, a lot of times operational leaders want things to be perfect. And, you know, perfection is the enemy of progress. So perfection is the enemy of progress. And one of the things that has really helped Jen and I is that, yes, she's high detailed, but she knows that at the end of the day, the lead gen and appointments is the engine of our company. And a lot of times her role has to do with the lead gen and appointments because she's over all of the operations. So that starts number one. Then we do accountability in the system. So accountability with our appointments. Number three is training. Number four is any cultural issues, focused on that. Number five is supports and operation, and that's actually last. And it's important, but to the bottom line of the company, it's always going to come down to lead gen and appointments being number one.
Sarah, I read, where do you have that posted? I think it's in the pivot.
I actually, oh yeah, that's right. I posted the PDF in the Pivot Shift Ahead files section, and it's under the problem solving time. It's our reminder as a leadership team to know what the priorities are when we're setting them.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, did you want to add something to that conversation there?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it just comes down to asking questions. I see so many folks out there who just don't ask good questions and don't participate in the conversation. So if you're just going to be an order taker and not an order maker, then yeah, creating an order of priority is going to be really, really challenging. But if you can collect and funnel all those ideas down, it's like, which are the most important things? And I think what's made our team very successful is that Sue and I can dig deep into things, right? So, you know, when we brought back, or when Sue brought back the idea of doing seller workshops, and she had a really good fleshed out idea, but then it was, okay, well, how do we get people to sign up? Where do we host them? What's the content when people show up? What are we serving people? What's the follow-up look like? How are the ISAs involved? How are mailings, like, how do we build and get that really, really deep so you have a really like stout program where you can put 30, 40 people in a room every single, you know, time we do it every other week and have 700 plus people, right? Like, that's where I think we become really successful. The idea on its own is good. The implementation and going really deep with it and flushing it really full out, that's where you see long-term success with it, right?
Yeah, with everything.
And I think that's a differentiator on the ops side that I see with Scott and Jen, for those of you listening, is you guys are operating the ops, whatever. I know you do sales too, but just for the ease of speaking, you're operating the ops side of the business as owners. You think as an owner, you think as an entrepreneur. You don't own the business, you don't have the risk, so you're not the entrepreneur, or maybe you have some ownership in the business, but you're thinking in terms of return on investment. You're thinking on bottom line. You're not just thinking implementation, which is what people think on operations. You mentioned that earlier today, Scott, that, or maybe it was Sue, that you guys are already tweaking some of the systems that you've put into effect, that you pivoted to, because you want to make sure you're getting your return on investment. So I think if you're listening, that was a really important point. I'm seeing a lot of people, for example, doing virtual open houses and not getting any leads from them. Like, are you measuring the results of the effort that you're putting in? I want to pull out a couple of shift comments and just see whether you guys, and we didn't talk about this ahead of time, so I don't know the answer, and maybe no, but shift tactic 3 is do more with less and leverage. And the quote that I pulled out was, no more paperwork for paperwork's sake, no more filing for filing's sake, no more detail for detail's sake. Complexity kills. What is the least you have to do now to get the most done? So I'm curious whether you guys have done any kind of simplification. Have you made your system simpler? Have you made accountability different? What you're reporting, any of that? Has anything been simplified during this time?
I mean, so like one thing that we did was we took our, and Sue's gonna laugh because she's been telling me to do this for 2 years, but I do all our one-on-ones. And so we took our one-on-ones and we made them 3-on-1. So now we have 3 agents and me, and that's really, we started it last week or the week before. So, that's been a really great change for us. And that saved me personally a lot of time, because now we can knock three people out in the same, well, it's 15 minutes longer for three people, but you get a lot more done with a lot less time. And I think also, like, when you implement a lot of new systems, that by the nature of the beast, there's going to be a lot of complexity up front, and there's going to be a lot of confusion up front. And so the next step of that is, like, because of what Sarah said, like, the first step is getting leads and getting business in the door, right? Then kind of later on, to me, becomes the process of, okay, let's streamline this so we're really being as efficient as possible with it. So I think we're kind of, I feel like in our business, we're sort of at that stage. Like, we had that really crazy messy middle, which was probably a month of, like, all these new things, all these new concepts, even taking a home selling workshop, which we had done, 50 times before, and then bringing it virtual. That was a whole new, same content, same people showing up, same deal, but it was like, all right, well, what do we do now? We're not seeing people face to face. How do we get all these people through the same pipeline and get the results we want out of it? So now we're kind of like in cleanup mode, I think, where we're taking all the fine details and really saying, okay, you do this part. Do we need to do this part? How can we do this better? So I don't know if that answers your question at all.
Were
but
you guys already, like,
similar.
were you already systems-wise ready for everybody to boom, go work from home? Or did your systems get tightened up as a result of working from home?
No, I think the systems changed and got tightened up because we were working from home.
Yeah, especially, I mean, on the listing side, we had these big listing packets that we would bring along before, and now, we're doing everything with Zoom, and even just doing the walkthrough at the person's house, having that where the owner would be just telling everything about the house, having that recorded on Zoom. Then we don't really even need to have the writer go out to the house or the stager, because they can see it all right there. So we just have that recording to work with. So just all those kind of things, just such huge time savers. And also the workshops are great for, if you're doing the same listing presentation, just having, you don't have to say it over and over again. So that's really streamlined our listing process big time. What was that?
I don't know who that was.
Okay.
Do you think you'll keep those changes a year from now?
Yes.
Yeah. I think we're seeing a lot more efficiencies. So the other part that I thought was interesting in Shift Tactic 3 was let go of preconceptions of people and systems and what you think they should do. I'm curious whether you all have made any rearrangements, any shuffling in terms of what people's roles are, or maybe they're still in the same role, but what their 20% is during this time. Have you had any changes in that area?
For us, I mean, that first team meeting, I told the entire team, like, welcome to the inside sales department. When you're in a shift, you need all hands on deck for that number one priority, which are appointments. We immediately, we've always tracked, like, the success of our operations team on, like, 5-star reviews, right? So, like, what is the service that we're providing? Are we providing 5-star service? And but we haven't necessarily held them accountable to conversations or asking for referrals. And so Jen implemented that across the board with our ops team to be tracking conversations that they're having and talking more about them generating referrals from our current business at a higher level. And I think that was probably the biggest change, I would say, was just, like, I let everyone know, like, okay, when we're in a crisis, everyone's got to roll up their sleeves and do the lead gen part. And it's not just up to the sales team. So, and so that was our biggest change in the beginning, was that, is just letting everyone know.
That. I think I'm seeing that in a lot of places, that people are really more keyed in on the ops side. We've always been keyed into results, lagging indicators on the sales side, but we haven't really measured the operations side the way we could. And that's been a huge opportunity to focus on tangible measurables. So referrals, reviews, whatever, Are there any other tangible measurables, Scott or Jen, that you guys are doing on the ops side that people might want to pay attention to? besides referrals and reviews?
Well, I know Jen and company did the whole audit thing. That's really cool. You should talk about that.
Yes, we did a capacity audit, which was great.
Tell us what that means for those listening that don't know that.
Yeah, so we sent out an email to everybody in operations and asked them to break down their day. If it's breaking down their week, we asked them to do that, whatever, if their, days are different day to day. And so then someone on the team, she created this amazing spreadsheet with all of their results so we could see really, are they at capacity? Are they over capacity? Are they under capacity? And then we were able to shift around some responsibilities. So everybody had more of an even workload.
I love that.
Yeah, she spent a lot of time shifting around people. Their job has changed a little bit during this time, not being in the office. And so we had multiple team members that were like 70-80% capacity. And so Jen spent, and then we had others that were like, one of them was like 170%.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's
and
our.
Of course, they're ops, so they didn't raise their hand and say, "I'm at 170%."
No.
I mean, it was actually the flip. I had people coming to me like, "What can I do? I don't have much to do right now." So it was really nice to see that. Yeah, they came forward, the majority of them, and that's when we really started to look at the numbers. And
Jen, would you share that, like maybe the email where you ask the questions? I think a lot of people would love to do that capacity audit on their team, and they're not really sure where to start with how to go about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can share that. I don't remember really. It was really just asking them to break down their day. We just.
But the spreadsheet's really cool. We can post that in the files section.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sarah, I want to ask you about a comment that you made in another Facebook group.
Oh no.
I think I know the answer, but I think what you said was so important that I want everyone on this call to hear it. Somebody was asking right when COVID started getting bad in the beginning of March, what should I do? Should I let my EA go? Like, because we're in expense cutting mode and we really need to watch our expenses. And here's what you said. The Reynolds team will 100% keep our amazing success team through this. They are our secret weapon. I have built reserves for a rainy day and we are now in it. Their hard work is what helped me build the reserves. So I view it as their money too. Also, we have a pipeline business. There is a lot of work day to day and I need them. They need me focused on leading the pipeline while they're doing an awesome job giving amazing service. Keep your people, even if that means cutting everything else. I'm going to ask you 2 months later, was that the right decision?
You're making me cry.
Aw, it made me cry when I read it.
Of course it was the right decision. Yeah.
I think, and I'm asking that because I coach a lot of teams around the country and I still am getting texts on a daily basis from agents who are laying off staff. So I think what you said was really important. How can you get your operations people to taking you from survive to thrive during this time?
We were looking, someone for the Empire Building podcast that I'm on, they were writing our bio and we hadn't calculated it, but Jen has been my COO for 5 years. And if you look at our growth chart, we've had an average of 53% year-over-year growth for 5 years in a row. And when I look at my ops team, and starting with Jen, she's my partner. And when I look at what we've built together, it's been together. It is not Sarah Reynolds, it is us together. And the entire ops team that she leads, they're the hardest working people with the biggest heart. And it was scary. Like, I get it, how scary it was. I was scared too. I mean, Sue and I, how many phone calls were we on with each other at like midnight in that first week, and we were both scared to death, right? Because we do have a big financial responsibility, and in most of our overhead, I mean, mine is between almost 400,000 a month at this point in overhead. And so this isn't a small feat, right? In terms of what we have on us. But at the end of the day, I said to Jen that first week, I had Jen, Lydia, and my mom, and we all hunkered down in my basement. We put all these big sticky notes up, and we went through our expenses, and I looked them all in the eyes, and I said, we're going to make it through this, and we're going to do it with our people. And we can cut everything else, but our biggest asset are our people. And I don't want to lose any of our people, because to find good people, like I say this all the time, and I tell my team, and I want everyone to hear me, like, we get 2 to 5 phone calls a day of agents wanting to be part of the Reynolds team. I mean, we're number 1 in the DC Metro, now number 1 in Keller Williams. Together we did that. And people want to be part of that. And it's super exciting, okay? We have a line of multiple of agents, awesome agents that want to be part of our organization. Good ops people, those are the gems. I'm telling you, they're so hard to find. And I said, we cannot let them go during this time. We've got to keep, if we can trim the fat, we can trim the muscle, but they're the bones. I mean, we can't, to rebuild that is going to take massive amounts. So we built the reserve together. So I'm a conservative financial leader. I don't live in this huge house. Personally, I'm conservative financially. And the reason is because I've taken good profitable years and put them in the bank. And I don't feel like Sarah Reynolds built that reserves. I view that as my entire main organization built it together, the key people, and we're not going to let them go during the time that now they built that with me. So we're going to ride it out together and figure it out. And that's what we've done. So I do not, I'm even more passionate about that decision now than I was then.
I just want to thank you for saying that. I think it was an important statement at a really pivotal time when you said that. So I just wanted to bring that up. I know people listening are thinking, well, how do I find a Scott? How do I find a Sue? Like, what does that look like? So I want to go back to that first question that I asked, which is, what attracted you in the beginning to this partnership? And now 11 years later, what keeps you in the relationship? And if I'm listening and I'm an agent, who do I need to be a leader to a Scott or to a Jen? And who do I need to be as an ops person to be that partner with an amazing rainmaker, owner, entrepreneur like Sue or Sarah? I don't know who wants to take that first. That was a really long question.
So I've said it from the beginning, and it's always the truth. It's all opportunity. If the opportunity ceased to exist, it wouldn't be attractive anymore. So what I'm attracted to is opportunity and my ability to create my own destiny. That's very attractive to me. And so Sue has provided that opportunity in spades, and I've taken advantage of it, and I've reaped the rewards of taking advantage of it. So from the beginning, I saw the opportunity of what it could be, and now it's not like I'm this savant and I planned it out to where we are today. Not at all. It's totally different than I guess maybe what I thought it would be, in a good way. I mean, I think it's bigger and better, and being a part of something huge. And when I look at great partnerships or big businesses, they're all great partnerships. Every single one of them are. There's 2 people, right, or 3 people, or a group of people that are creating this amazing business, this amazing company. Very few people succeed alone, and I just feel fortunate to be a part of what we are a part of, and I think we have an amazing group of people that we work with, and that we both get to lead and be in partnership with, and I look at everybody on our team as somebody that we're in partnership with. and each of them plays an integral role in our business. And we're a Super Bowl winning team, and you can't be a Super Bowl winning team if one of your players isn't of that caliber. And so I think, you know, that's what makes it work, and that's what makes it attractive day in and day out is the amazing opportunity that the next day brings, right?
I want to point out something you said that I thought was really key, which is there's a difference between expecting someone to bring you opportunity and somebody for creating a space where you can create opportunity for both of you within that space. And what you said was you wanted to be the creator along with Sue, and that she provided the space, I think. I think
really
when
good
people
point.
hear the opportunity word, there's a lot of, oh, well, my agent isn't giving me opportunity.
Yes.
No one's giving you anything. You're helping, you're co-creating that. Sue,
That
do you
is-
comment on that?
That is such an important comment, Christy. It is such an important comment because we get that all the time where people say, well, I want an opportunity. It's like, okay, fine, just take it. We're not stopping you, but it's not going to take away from my 20% to give you that opportunity. I think that's what's really important, because I think sometimes people just expect that you're going to be that like, I'm working for you to create this opportunity. That's not
Like I'm your
how it
fairy
is.
godmother
I'm-
handing out opportunities.
Right, exactly. But yes, you want to open up a division of some sort, awesome, we'll support you, and we will absolutely support that and create, you know, help you with that opportunity. But it doesn't become the CEO or the COO's job to create, you know, to, how do I say it? You make your own opportunity, and
Yes.
we will allow that space for that to happen and support it. Basically,
So
that's
Sue and Sarah, I've known you guys both for a really long time now. I think Sue, I've known you since we joined the company in 2008. I've watched both of you, your leadership levels just really rise. So I would love for you to speak to the agents listening right now as to who have you become that you weren't before, and who do you need to be to attract a Scott or a Jen, and to keep a Scott or a Jen as your partner? Or maybe they should answer that about
I know, I was gonna say, like,
It's hard to brag on
as Jen's
yourself.
plugging in her computer, so it
Sorry, my
doesn't
computer's
matter.
sorry. Sorry, what was the question?
What is it about Sarah? Who is Sarah as a leader that attracted you and keeps you there? Like, if you're speaking to the agents listening right now, what do they need to work on as leaders to be the kind of leader that someone like you would want to partner with?
That's hard to put into words. She's just very it's hard for me to put it into words. She brings out the best in everybody. That's like the one thing she sees everybody's strengths and she focuses on that, which I think is just so special and rare. I mean, people don't normally see that. So they're not focused on that. Like she makes sure that everybody's working in their strengths and she's focusing on them. She doesn't focus on their negatives at all. It's really just their strengths, and it just it's amazing to see. I've learned so much with that part. She just really, she sees something in everyone, and it's really special. It's hard for me to put into words, but
I think what I'm hearing you say a little bit of is that we all want, if you're a talent, you want to be the best person you can be.
Yeah.
And when you're surrounded by a leader who pulls that out of you and helps you be the best person you can be, then that's a partnership you want to be part of. Is that kind of?
Absolutely. Yeah. She just, yeah, it's.
Yeah, and supportive. I think that's part of it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you want to, like, I know she knows my strengths, and that just makes me want to do more. I mean, I always like to do a good job. Like but she knows that, and it's just, she just brings out the best in me and everybody here. It's amazing.
You know, it's interesting. It's almost like asking a question about like who would, I mean, it's similar. It's obviously not a marriage, but it's similar to a marriage. It's your work marriage. So it's almost, so that's why I think that's why you're having trouble explaining it, because it is a true partnership, and there's the trust aspect, and there's the yin and the yang, and everybody has their own strengths, and you complement each other to, you know, with certain things, and you're going to clash in certain things, and it's a relationship, and the communication has to be, no, it's basically like it's a work marriage is really what it is. So it has to be, there's so much more to it than just talking about like how to find this, what you're looking for in that person. It's like, what are you looking for when you're looking for any kind of partner, really, to move you forward in your life, right?
I think one of the things that I've noticed that I think Sue and I have probably, I mean, we have multiple things in common, but a big one is that I view Jen, Sue views Scott as her partner. And I think, you know, I'm talking to the leaders here that are well, we're all leaders here, but I'm talking to the CEOs. I cringe sometimes when I hear CEOs, the main rainmaker, talk about their administrative team, their leader on the administrative team, as like almost lower than them. And it's little things that are said. It's not in like, they don't directly say like they're lower. It's like the little things. And what that tells me is that I think one of the successes in both of our partnerships, if you look at it, it starts with Sue and I's mindset about that partnership. That's a partnership.
Very true.
They're not lower than us. Okay. A partnership is on the same level, and that they're working together to make things happen. And I think, you know, you got to view that role as your partner. And like, I cannot do all that I do without Jen beside me, and Jen cannot do what she does without me beside her. And it's a true partnership. And that's, I think, a big difference in what I see across the nation, and talking to more people now, is that mindset. Me and Sue have the same mindset about our people.
And it's a partnership that's not a plus partnership. It's a multiplied partnership. It's not 1 + 1 = 2, so we can double our business. It's 1 × 1 is infinity.
Oh, I like that.
Right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in our last 3 minutes. I think I want to ask you, and then if there's anything else you guys want to leave us with a last thought of, what's the best thing that you've done together? And I didn't prepare you for that, but what are you most proud of doing as a partnership?
That's a really tough question. Sue, what are you most proud of?
You know, I mean, I feel like we do everything together. You know, so I always think of just different challenges through the shift. I have to say, through this whole pivoting thing, I think sometimes, you know, I feel like at the beginning we were clashing a little bit, and we were feeling like maybe, you know, Scott was feeling like, well, we're not on the same page. I was feeling like, so we kind of did this little thing, but then when you finally come together, then you can really soar, and then it's just a matter of discussing those things. And so, but that's just one example. But I feel like sometimes when there's healthy conflict, and then you can turn that into something that soars forward, I think those are the times that I most appreciate. You know, I can't think of a lot.
I think that's really a good one, Sue. I think it's really real, because I think a lot of people are struggling in that situation right now. This is you know, what's happened with the pandemic is the biggest pattern interrupt that I remember in my lifetime, other than maybe 9/11. And so when we have that pattern interrupt, the good news is we get to choose new patterns. So you get disrupted, and you and Scott maybe were feeling that disruption, but you've chosen new patterns together to move forward, and your team is crushing it. So obviously it's working. Sarah, what would you guys say you're proud of?
Well, I immediately, when you first asked, I was thinking of the fun time at Amplify together. That was like, that's not, we like to have fun together too, so that's nice. Okay, but what are we most proud of is just the heart. We've gone through some tough times together. I mean, when she was I don't know, how long were you well, as director of ops then? I mean, we initially had a whole issue happen with our ISA leader, and she saw that earlier than me. One of the things that I think my number 34 strength out of 34 is empathy.
Oh my God, that's my number one.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And that's in Jen's top 5. And so we really help each other through so sometimes she can see things that I do not see. Many times. Okay. And so she saw that actually. And that was a really hard time. I mean, I honestly thought we were going to have to rebuild the company together because a high influencer was our director of ISAs, and the whole agents were nervous. So that was one thing we went through together. I mean, I could list the times, just like the struggles of, we've had rapid growth, and it has been messy. And so just like going through that together. And I mean, I'm proud, like, I mean, number one on my strengths is competitive. And I mean,
Me too.
we're number 1 in the world for Keller Williams right now. And we did that together. And it's a surreal moment. I mean, I don't know what our ranking was 5 years ago. And I don't even know if it was in the top 100.
Yes, you do. I know you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying.
but we've built this together, and I'm proud of that, and the impact that we're having on so many lives together. It feeds us. We talk about it all the time, and when we have bad days, we remind each other, look at the good that is happening. This is what we're doing together. So it's more of, we've come together through good times and bad, and it's a commitment to one another. I know Sue brought up a marriage, but it's like, it does feel like that. So
it's more, I think what I used to teach pre-Cana, which is marriage preparation, my husband and I, and we used to talk about the difference between a covenant and a contract. And this is really more of a covenant relationship at this point, that it's a commitment no matter what. It's not a contract, like sign here on the dotted line, I'm just going to do my job.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, like, we know, okay, the rough times are going to come. Like, I mean, we have issues. We have like 106 people now in our organization. That brings a lot of issues, people issues. And we tackle them together. And sometimes it's hurtful. Like, sometimes things happen that hurt us, depending on where it's coming from, and we've written it out together, even as early as like 2 weeks ago. I was really struggling, and Jen was right there beside me. And that's what it's about. And I think that's what I'm proud of. I'm proud of the relationship, and I'm proud of the friendship, and I'm proud of that we've made it through some really hard times together. And then we've created something super awesome. So.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for your transparency, for your honesty. I think this relationship is so key to success in business and to the happiness that we have along the way doing the business. So I really appreciate you. Thank you, Sue and Sarah, for all that you're giving back in this group. And I think there's like 3 more things today, even. Do you guys have do you want to say what they are? Do you know what they are?
Today is Carissa is going to give beauty tips. And so I'm like all about that.
Sign in for that.
Yeah, she's the queen of beauty. And then tonight we're going to have some fun with the dolls and Amplify happy hour. We're going live. So the rest of the day, I think this is the ending of this more serious things. And then we had 2 earlier things too. So I mean, this week is amazing.
It is a
Thank you guys so much. Awesome. So Sue, you can take us out. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.